Great. Well, to start with, thanks for sitting with us. I was hoping you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work.
Wow, okay. Yeah, my name is Tobias Veen. I'm currently a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Montreal, but I'm also a techno turntablist, house DJ, media arts curator, and I've kind of been involved with techno culture since the early 1990s.
Well, great. Well, you're talking about the symposium. What's one thing at the symposium that's inspired you think? What are you going to take with you? I mean, there's so much, but if you can narrow it down to one thing.
Wow. Well, this is my second time at the Astro Blackness series. And the first time was in Los Angeles last year. And it was the first time I'd been in a room of scholars all dedicated to Afrofuturism and everything around it. And it was inspiring. And I think it was inspiring for everyone there as well, because a lot of us are working in isolation in our respective institutions or art practices. And to actually have those people together in one room, that energy in and of itself, it's not just networking and academic.
Right. No, it's the development of a community.
Yeah, it really is. And coming to Jackson this time, and also the context of being in the Deep South, in Mississippi, in Jackson, really bringing it home to everything around the civil rights struggle in that political context, and thinking Afrofuturism in that context. In a way, just that move right there is what I'm going to take from this, which is like, how does Afrofuturism relate to that deeper historical struggle? In terms of individual presentations, there's so much.
Right.
In a way, what I really draw from it actually is trying to engage with everything that comes up, because the great thing about the way this conference is structured is you can attend every single lecture. There's no parallel streams. It's really dedicated as a whole experience. So yeah, the fact that it's all recorded, you can just like take everything from it and then bring it back into your work. And yeah, I mean, also it's really about the community, and it's about what happens after this conference. It's about reaching out to everyone you meet here and bringing them into projects and collaborating with them to build that energy forward.
So. Okay, so what were some of your thoughts coming into this conference? What were you anticipating? What were you excited about coming in? You were having been to last year's.
Yeah, having been to last year. I mean, I was very nervous last year, and I spoke on the last day on the last panel. So I wasn't sure what to expect, and I ended up throwing away my notes last year and just sort of riffing about Detroit techno, and I kind of did the same this year. I ended up just ditching the notes and sort of working through some ideas around Sun Ra and becoming alien.
Well, it was a fantastic presentation, by the way. The entire panel was just fantastic, really. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a great panel.
Yeah, I was curious, how were you introduced to Sun Ra initially?
Oh, wow. You know, really through music itself.
I mean, was there something like is one of those things where like you first learned about African Bambaataa and then you go back, like how do you first learn of Sun Ra?
That's actually a really good question, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm guessing probably the first time I heard about Sun Ra was through the Detroit techno context, probably referenced by Underground Resistance. They had some records they put out, Galaxy to Galaxy, usually Mad Mike's projects where he started to bring in jazz influences. But even then I already knew about avant-garde jazz music from the 70s and like 60s. I think I'd already come across Sun Ra. And really I heard a lot of his music on the radio, like late night underground radio in Canada. That's actually how I encountered it.
Okay.
So I've known about Sun Ra for a long time, and then I finally saw the orchestra in 1999 in New Orleans at the Jazz Festival. And that was in person, and like at that point it was like a full-on experience. And since then I've been following, like really trying to get into Sun Ra and his work and philosophy. So.
And who are some other artists right now that you believe are in the same vein that you're truly appreciating, at least in regards to Afrofuturism?
Yeah, I mean there's quite a few. There's a real resurgence of not the concept but the community around Afrofuturism and what that means. In terms of the popular cultural level, I mean. Everyone from Erykah Badu and like Janelle Monáe through to what's still coming out of Detroit. There's still like 5th and 6th wave Detroit artists coming out, but Underground Resistance is like still going. For example, Jeff Mills is putting out amazing concept techno albums based upon the idea of alien contact and abduction and like future worlds. He's actually gotten even more esoteric and Afrofuturist in like the techno world. There's a lot of fantastic hip-hop coming out that continues to come out. Like Future puts out really interesting abstract stuff. I mean, we all know about Outkast and these sort of standout artists, but I mean, there's so much sort of happening in underground currents that's sort of popping up everywhere. I have to sit here and think a minute, think of my playlist.
Yeah, and this is once again, this is the kind of stuff where it's really hard to predict right now, but
Yeah.
next year, I'm sure we'll see you at the symposium.
Yeah, I hope to be here for sure.
And
Yeah.
do you have any ideas of what you'd like to work on for next year already?
You know, it's a crazy story, but since 2008, I've been trying to get out a volume of writings around Afrofuturism and music. Hopefully, by the time that I come back, hopefully next year, this will be out. This is the goal. It's been a long project. There's actually an interesting side story here for archival reasons about the difficulties of publishing around Afrofuturism. Now there's a market for it, but 10 years ago, there really wasn't. And trying to convince publishers to deal with the topic of Afrofuturism was extraordinarily difficult. So there's actually been a lot of work, I think, that's been held back for quite a while. So I'm really stoked and happy putting all my energy into seeing this one collected volume out around Afrofuturism and music that hopefully should be out. At the same time, I'm actually trying to finish a book around the philosophy of becoming. And Afrofuturism constitutes a major part of that text. So it's a deep exploration of becoming, autogenesis. It's process philosophy, which is kind of what I'm schooled in, like what I do. But it's like through the lens of Afrofuturism and like concepts like races of technology. So.
And I'd love for the audience, for the people who are seeing this archive footage to know where they can see more of your writing, see more of where you're just just Google.
Hopefully this still Google in 100 years.
All right, right. Just hoping, just wanting to get you out there more.
Yeah, I have no central repository. It's all up on the usual websites and research gates and all that stuff. But I do a lot of work with an interesting journal that doesn't get a lot of attention so much in Afrofuturist circles because it's almost part of a different segment of academia. And it's called Dance Cult, the Journal of Electronic Dance Music Culture. And because Afrofuturism has been part, or in the 90s was especially associated with electronic music culture and techno culture and remix culture and DJ culture, we've put out a special issue on Afrofuturism 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, that was really cool and had some great work, and I'm continuing to work with them to keep exploring the links between culture, like electronic music and Afrofuturism. Right. So that's one spot.
And if there's anything that you would like to see next year, like that, anything that I know once again that's a tough one, but what would you like to see, other than of course this expanding?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see more people involved. This year, Darius Omar Williams was supposed to come and do a theatrical performance, and I know he couldn't get away to do it. I'm really hoping Darius can make it next year. I really want to see Afrofuturist theater and live performance and what that looks like. I also think it'd be fantastic to really start making the connection to what's going on in the UK and the African continent and the European continent, the Caribbean. I mean, this is a really global movement. So the question is, how do we begin that dialogue? Bringing those people in. I mean, there's some crazy stuff coming out of London right now. There's crazy stuff coming out of Senegal and Ghana. So it's a question of resources and so forth to actually bring these people in together and make that connection, because then that's going to be crazy. That's really going to be like a global meeting of minds. So
that's fantastic.
I think that's the next level.
Well, I'd really like to thank you for taking the time to sit with us.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.